Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name's Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody had a Happy New Year. I am currently not having a Happy New Year as of yesterday because both of my Facebook accounts got hacked yesterday at 4 o'clock in the morning. Somebody got in and was able to change my password with no clicking or interaction from me. No, I didn't try to collect my Nigerian lottery prize winnings or anything like that. I'm pretty good about that. But nevertheless, they were able to get in and hack those two accounts. So if you're my friend on Facebook, and or if you follow andersonshooting.com on Facebook, I do not have control of either of those accounts as of yesterday, which would be January the 2nd. It was a lovely, lovely day of trying to get that resolved, and we're still working on it. If you'd like to offer some help, and you are not a Nigerian prince who is offering me $1 million in lottery winnings, I'll even give you my ATM number to get my lottery winnings, to get access to my Facebook accounts. No, I probably won't do that, but that is where we're at right now. We're trying to get that resolved, and if you can offer any assistance, if you work for the Meta or the Facebook or the Instagram, we still have access to well, actually, I take that back. Jay Beal still has access to the Instagram account. So unless Jay Beal also has won millions of dollars in the Nigerian lottery, Jay, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. You did win the lottery when you met me, but you didn't win the lottery according to your Instagram password. So let's try to keep that secure for now. And again, if you can offer any real help, please let me know. I am literally all ears. Speaking of all ears, I want you to use your ears to let me thank our partners. Walther Firearms is the proud title sponsor of the podcast and of AndersonShooting.com. You can see on the YouTube we have a very, very professional display of Walther logos. We've used all the latest technology. We've used my wife's concealed carry purse that she has literally never concealed carried in to prop up one Walther logo, and we've used my brand new Van Halen range bag to prop up the other one. So only the finest technology to represent Walther as the title sponsor of the program. And if you get a chance to check out the new Walther PDP steel frame, that is highly, highly, highly recommended. I'm just telling you, when you pick that thing up, it feels like home. The grip surface is amazing. I had a guy email me and said, hey, you got to try this performance trigger. And I'm thinking, I will when they're ever back in stock and Walther sends me one. But I'm telling you what, the stock trigger on that thing is the finest trigger I have ever triggered on a striker-fired handgun, particularly a stock one. I mean, it is just, I don't know what face to make. The chef kissing Italian, I don't know. You'd have to use German anyway. Speaking of German, Joey Sauerland did teach me some German. Joey Sauerland taught me, he's of German descent, obviously. He taught me the German word for brazier, and it's very important that you pronounce it correctly. The German word for brazier is Stabsproben, and that's all the German I currently know. And of course, Targets USA manufactures the finest steel targetry on the planet. It is portable, it is affordable, and it is the best. The Rhino Knockdown is the best steel training target in the world. It goes right in your car, Subaru, bucket truck, whatever you got. Mounts real easily with tripod legs and a 2x4, and simulates the scoring zone of a mini popper. And it's the greatest steel target in the world. Go check it out. It's as simple as that. All right. And of course, CR Speed, as you know, manufactures the finest gun handling gadgetry you can wrap around your waist or anywhere else. The AMG-lab.com Commanderson timer continues to turn heads and blow minds by putting the time into the tablet. Hunter's HD Gold is the only eyewear that I wear, and you know because I are wearing it right now. OutdoorDynamics.net remanufactures the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser. In this case, the PDP steel frame is the ultimate Freedom Seed dispenser. And of course, Shooting Sports Innovations is a lot to type because there is a lot to see when you finally get there. I wonder if my password to my Facebook accounts has been changed to shootingsportsinnovations.com. That's highly unlikely because the hacker wouldn't be able to type it in twice correctly. Maybe I'll try that the next time I try to recover those accounts. And I want to let you know we are doing mental management online via the Zoom. You can see the Zoom right there on the Facebook. It's the name of the mighty AndersonShooting.com microphone. That's January 23rd, 24th, and 25th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go to upcoming classes at AndersonShooting.com and sign up for that right now. And you can also see everything we've got going on. We're adding classes on a weekly basis right now as the requests come in. So check back often to upcoming classes. And if you don't see a class in your area, you just let me know and we will make that happen. All right, first thing we have today is a letter. And it says, I haven't set any performance goals for this year, but I have set one process goal. So that's interesting. Changing behavior is the best way to reach a goal. You are where you are because you've been doing what you're doing. If you want to go somewhere else, you got to do something else. It's as simple as that. That is to incorporate 10 to 15 minutes of dry fire into my morning routine. Get up, get dressed, brush teeth, then alternating 5 to 10 minutes of drills from a refinement and repetition each morning with another 5 to 10 minutes working on another aspect of my shooting. I plan on doing another 15 to 20 minutes in the evening, but incorporating this morning dry fire into my morning routine ensures that it gets done. I am curious to hear your thoughts on how to reflect on the past year as well as your thoughts on goal setting. All right, so here's how you reflect on the past year. This is what I did, and this is what I got. That's last year. Now, look to next year and say, what is it that I want? And then the next question is, why do I want it? And inside of that one is, how bad do I want it? Right? How bad you want something really has a great change or effect on behavior, right? Behavior is what creates results. How bad you want something is more likely, the more you want it is more likely to change your behavior so that you get it. So think about what it is that you want and think about what you need to do that you are willing and able to do to get what you want. If you want something different, you got to do something different. And pay value, which is the why you want it, is the only reason you will ever make those changes. And in the mental management class, the entire third class is about this process. That class is called Mastering Self-Image Change, and it is all about examining your current habits and attitudes to see if they're consistent with the goal that you want. There's a good chance that your current habits and attitudes, the things you're doing, the reasons you're doing them, are not sufficient to reach your new goal. Otherwise, you probably would have already reached it. So that entire third class is about examining what you want, examining why you want it, and then examining what you need to do to make that a reality. And it's all about becoming the shooter you want to be, as opposed to sitting around thinking about a bunch of accomplishments that you want. All you've got to do is become the person that can achieve those accomplishments, and then you'll do it. That hit me like a ton of bricks one time I was doing that class. It was like, holy moly. People sit around all day and they want stuff, but they don't examine what they need to do to get there. That's very, very, very powerful. And we help you through that in the third mental management class. Reflecting on the past year, this is what I did, this is what I got. Check out the highlight reel. We're going to talk about the highlight reel here very shortly. But check out your highlight reel. This is what was happening when I was getting what I wanted. This is what I was doing when I was getting it right. Continue to do those things, right? Getting up there in performance is about outworking and outsmarting your competition. We're going to talk about that a bunch. So, in the interest of creating clickbait in a topically timely fashion, today's program is called 24 Hacks for 2024. Because I got hacked, I thought I would give you some hacks. Number one, learn what's happening when you get it right. Most of you know far more about your poor performances than your great performances. We want to switch that around so that you know more about getting it right than you do about getting it wrong. What are you doing and thinking before a great run? Is that something you can duplicate? One of the things we learn in mental management is that consistency is the quality of your thoughts and your ability to duplicate them. That means I'm thinking the right things at the right time when I'm getting it right, and I know how to duplicate that process. Now, after a great run, it's really important that you reinforce what you did well and how doing that resulted in a great run. And when you're doing this, you need to be careful with perfection. Comparing your run to perfection, which doesn't really exist, by the way, can cause you to focus on errors and shortcomings. And when you focus on errors and shortcomings, you tend to get more of those in the future. When you focus on errors and shortcomings, you're literally replaying them, reliving them, and making them normal. If you focus on what you did well, pretty specifically, you're replaying, reliving, and making those things normal. And that sounds like a much better idea. Well, you're telling me just to ignore the things I'm doing wrong. Not saying that. Never did, not one time. What I'm telling you to do is start with the things you're doing right and then build upon that. Number two, use par times and dry fire to get faster at everything. Anything that can be duplicated can be improved with par times. My buddies in Green Ops, Mike Green and his boys, they use par times for everything. How do we breach a door? How long does it take us to knock a door down? However we're going to do that. Okay, it takes us 18 seconds. Okay, how can we do it in 17 seconds? How can we do it in 16 seconds? How can we do it in 15 seconds? And accuracy may or may not be a factor in this, but you have to be smart. If you're working on a movement piece, as the young people might say, and you want to unpack that movement piece for sure, as the young people would say, accuracy may or may not be a big deal. Right? If you're working on training the body below the waist, the target may not be that important. Certainly what you're doing with your body and what the timer says about that is going to be way more important than whatever's on the target for some period of time. We're not telling you to go, well, we are kind of. I mean, there is something to be learned just from blasting. Focusing on the period of movement. What does it feel like to do this thing quicker? And then once that becomes normal, once you can do that every single time, that's when you can go back and start looking at hits on target. But if you're training your body below the waist, what happens above the waist isn't that important. Thus spoke my lovely bride. Number three, meet or exceed a written training schedule. My favorite thing about that previous letter that I read to you is this guy's established some things he is going to do every day. Well, that sounds like a habit. Habits and attitudes are the cornerstone. Well, they're the totality of self-image. This is what I do. This is how I feel about it. And these things are always growing. And dry firing twice a day is magical, even if you don't increase the overall time. If you're dry firing an hour a day, once a day, split that into 2 30-minute sessions, that is magical for increasing cold performance. Your personal best will be available to you much quicker if you're dry firing twice a day than if you're only dry firing once a day. I'm just telling you, people that start dry firing twice a day usually reach their classification goals pretty quickly. Number 4, learn to call your shots and get obsessed with it. Shot calling is the most important skill for practical shooting and is a phenomenal occupation for the conscious mind in competition. There is nothing better to be thinking about or doing when the timer goes off than calling every shot. It occupies the conscious mind in a way that has to be experienced to be believed. You're not really thinking about anything, but it does occupy your conscious mind when all you care about is calling your shots. It is the best gift I can give you in one of the live fire classes. I'm just telling you, when you learn to call your shots, I'm working with a guy in Texas right now, slightly Italian descent. Talks about these freaking guys over here. Not those guys, these guys. And boy, he hates the mud too. We get out there in the mud and he says like, man, this effing mud. And we're sweeping and we're cleaning and we're taking off the shoes. I can't stand this effing. But he says to me, nobody has ever told me, and this guy's trained with a lot of people. He said, nobody has ever told me to watch the dot lift. And most of you are shooting dots out there. When you see the dot lift from a specific area on a target, that is where the bullet went. And when you learn to see that, it is magical. Number 5, monitor all thoughts about your shooting for helpfulness. So every thought you have about your shooting, everything you say about it, everything you believe about your shooting career goes into your self-image. The sum total of these thoughts, whether they're largely positive or largely negative, it is the determination for how much subconscious skill you get under pressure. So the better you feel about your skills, the more capable you feel, the more you feel like you're improving and getting better, the more access you have to subconscious skill. The more you think you're screwing up, the more you think you can't get it wrong, the more you think you're slow, sloppy, and every other insult you can throw at yourself, the less access you get to subconscious skill when the timer goes off. Every skill you have needs to be seen as either great or improving. It doesn't mean you ignore the things you're not great at. It means you say, hey, my one-handed shooting, my mover shooting, whatever it is getting better. And you see that skill is getting better instead of being something that you're not very good at. It's very important that you improve from where you are, not from zero. What I mean by that is if you're in A class, that means you're improving every single skill from the top 25% of what a human being can do with a firearm. If you're in master class, you're improving every skill from the top 15%. If you're a grandmaster, you don't suck at anything. I promise you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a grandmaster. So improve from that, not from zero. It's very, very important. I am a great shooter. When I improve X, I'll be even better. Number 6, understand that a subconscious performance is always the goal. Everybody shoots their best when they're not thinking and they don't care. What they don't do is try to replicate that environment when they are thinking and when they do care. We've got that hacked. We've got the password. I wish I had the other password. Anything that can be repped becomes subconscious. Repetition is the only way things become subconscious. Doesn't happen any other way, including stage plan. This must always be the goal. When you go to your next match, I want you to give yourself 2 jobs. I want you to get a subconscious stage plan. I want you to call every shot. You do that, you'll be writing me a nice letter, which I would normally post on Facebook, but I currently cannot. This only happens when you choose something else to think about besides stage plan and technical skill. So if you get some number of reps of your stage plan, you create a subconscious stage plan that doesn't require conscious thought by definition. Also, the skills that you have practiced in training do not require conscious thought. But you got to pick something else to think about in order to get access to those things. And you got to be confident in your ability to do it in order for that to happen. But a subconscious performance in competition is always the goal. And you'll know because you won't remember your draw, you won't remember your reload. You won't remember much about that run unless something unusual happened. If you followed your stage plan and nothing weird happened, you won't remember hardly anything except seeing your dot or your sight picture. If you can remember a bunch of stuff that you did in your stage plan, it means you're not shooting subconsciously because we don't remember things that are done subconsciously. Number 7, use 100% of mental management if you've taken the class. Many people will not stay on the flowchart, they will not use the journal, and they will not follow through on the directive affirmation. I want you to use everything. If you've taken mental management and you're not using the flowchart, you're not using your journal, and you're not following through on the directive affirmation to the letter, you're missing out. So use it all. Number 8, all you have to do to increase your hit factor is reduce the time spent not shooting. The most common culprit is periods of movement. Anytime you're moving and not shooting, your hit factor is 0. What could you do to reduce the time spent not shooting? Transitions between targets is the other big killer of hit factor. As you're moving your gun from target to target, you're not shooting it, therefore your hit factor is 0. Time to first shot would be the next one. The draw, sure. If there's anything else going on before you fire the first shot, you're not shooting. You need to minimize that. And of course, splits are the very last thing you want to be looking at in terms of reducing the time spent not shooting. I think sometimes people go through these backwards. I think sometimes they start at splits, they go right to time to first shot, and they eventually wind up at transitions and periods of movement. Periods of movement and transitions between target are the biggest opportunities to reduce the time spent not shooting. So do that. Do it in practice. Do it in stage planning. You make transitions a strength. You make time between targets, we'll talk about movement, a strength. You will reduce the time spent not shooting. And also do this in stage planning. The best stage plan is the one that minimizes the time spent not shooting. That's all there is to it. Number 9, use a timer to make stage plan decisions. All you got to do, if you can air gun 2 options pretty realistically, just use the stopwatch on your smartphone and see how long it takes you to do option A, and then see how long it takes you to do option B. Frequently, you'll find that there's not much difference. That means the decision goes to confidence. If there's more than, say, a second or 2 difference there, that might be real data. If you've got a stage, you can't decide whether to go left or right, right to left, shoot in the middle versus don't shoot in the middle. Time it, air gunning it both ways, and now you have real data. It doesn't really matter how fast you air gun it as long as you air gun it the same both times. Don't air gun your favorite way faster to make sure it wins. Do it relatively realistically both ways, and you wind up with real data. Most of the time when we do this at matches, we don't find much difference. Every now and then we find a big difference. That's real data. And if you're jealous of other shooters' stage plans, number 10, ask them about it after they shoot. Don't ask them before. When they get done, say, hey, I'm really impressed with that stage plan. Why did you do that? How did you come to that decision? That's what you really need to learn. If there's somebody that you think is stage planning better than you, ask them why. Ask them how. People love to talk about how great their stage plans are. They love it after they get done shooting. And please resist the temptation to change your stage plan before you shoot. That'll be a bad idea the vast majority of the time. Number 11, set inevitable goals within your control. If there's something you want in the shooting world, that goal is either impossible, possible, plausible, or inevitable. It might also be possible. I'm not sure if I said that one. It doesn't matter. When the goal becomes inevitable is when it will happen. I will be a grandmaster. When I was coming up and wanting to make grandmaster, I set that goal as soon as I heard the word. I didn't even know what was required. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how long it would take. But as soon as I heard that there's an award you can get or a rank you can get of Grandmaster, I decided to achieve it. It became inevitable from the moment I knew about it. Now, if there's a placement goal you want, if you want to win a particular match, all you can do is make yourself a contender. I am a contender to win my class at the next area match. I'm a contender to win my class at nationals. Becoming a contender does a couple of things. The first thing it does is it makes your self-image okay with success. And that's really ironic, because if you're trying to get to a place you've never been before, your self-image will actually fight it. And you know this is true. When you have found out that you're doing better than expected at a certain competition, you feel kind of weird. Well, that's your self-image saying, this isn't us. We're not supposed to be here. And self-image will usually be very happy to oblige and put you right back where you belong. If you believe you're a top 5 shooter and you find out you're winning, self-image will be more than happy to put you back in the top 5. Because it's what you expect. It's where you believe you deserve to be. That's a function of your habits and your attitudes. But if you want to win something, you've got to make yourself a contender. Hey, I'm a contender to win this thing. I can do this. And all you need to do is outwork your competition in training and outsmart them by being a better competitor. 2 shooters of similar skill, it is not going to be the best shooter that wins. It's going to be the best competitor that wins. Between 2 shooters of similar skill. Okay? It's always going to be the best competitor that wins. And that's something we can help you do for sure. Number 12, learn the shuffle step for short lateral movement. I can describe it to you. If you search Instagram, Nils Jonasson and shuffle step, we're going to make Nils famous. Well, Nils is already famous. We're going to make Nils famous. Nils has a really, really great video on the shuffle step on his Instagram page. If you just go search Nils Jonasson Instagram shuffle step, you'll see the video that he did. It's a way to keep your hips and shoulders square to the target for short periods of lateral movement. It is the best single movement technique in the shooting sports. That's just all there is to it. It can be easily practiced around the house. If you're going from the coffee maker to the sink, you can do the shuffle step. If you're going from the cabinet to the refrigerator, you can do the shuffle step. If you're going from the toilet to the sink, well, I guess that would depend on the orientation of the toilet and or the sink. But you might be able to do a shuffle step there too. Okay? The feet need to be low to the ground when you're doing it. As Gaz says in South Africa, you'll know you're doing it right when you're kicking up dirt. But learn the shuffle step for short periods of lateral movement. It is mandatory for short periods of lateral movement. Number 13, increase your comfort zone for shooting while moving. Everybody has a distance and a target in which they're comfortable shooting while moving. I want you to be increasing that comfort zone. Well, I'm telling you, it's better to post up sometimes. Well, only you can make that decision. But I'm telling you, I can't think of a time we've tested it with anybody where posting up had been faster than shooting while moving if you can make the shots. If you can't make the shots, it's a moot point. That's M-O-O-T, by the way, not M-U-T-E. It's only a mute point if I can't hear you. Well, that might be better than a moot point. But increase your comfort zone for shooting while moving. The easiest way to do it in dry fire is to hold a sight picture on a smallish target and move around in a figure 8. What do I have to do with my body to keep my sight picture stable as I move around in a figure 8? What do I got to do? And then increase that distance. There's also a phenomenal drill that we have done in 99.9% of live fire classes called Counting Alphas. That is phenomenal for shooting while moving and increasing your comfort zone at shooting while moving. So those are 2 things you can do. Number 14, for the love of Pete and Poughkeepsie, shoot partials in the center of the available target area. This is, of course, USPSA IPSC primarily. IDPA is a little different. But for IPSC USPSA, you always want to be shooting partial targets in the center of the available target area. This will always produce a higher hit factor than sniping alphas, and that includes, that doesn't include the mics and no shoots that you got while you were doing it. So just take the clean runs. Go out and try it if you want to. Set up 3 partials. Shoot perfect alphas. Record your hit factor. You'll probably have some mics and no shoots in there, by the way. And then shoot an available target area. You will get a higher hit factor. Only possible exception would be if you're inside of 3 yards. I mean, like the can you count classifier, for example. That's not even really a partial because the partial is so generous. I'm talking about a normal partial that obscures half the A zone or thereabouts. Shoot partials in the center of the, and even on can you count, the center of that target area is still going to be the A zone. It'll be on the right or left side depending on your orientation and maybe your preferred pronoun. But it'll still be the center of the available target area, more or less. Number 15, learn and practice match mode. So match mode means I have a subconscious stage plan and I have a singular focus. Be able to get into this on demand. There's no technique in match mode. There's no over-try. There's no under-try in match mode. There's a subconscious stage plan and a singular focus, ideally on something visual. Well, I like to think about my grip. Okay. I have not yet met the person who can think about grip as a singular focus with 100% success. Just like I've not met the person who can do this. Well, I have met one person. And that might not be 99%. I'm thinking of one guy who uses a scoop draw with a very, very high percentage of success. I'm not sure if it's 100. But I have not yet met the person who can think about grip as a singular focus with 100% success. Because once you get a great grip, you may not know what's important after that. And if you're into doubles and splits, you might be in big trouble. So, match mode means a subconscious stage plan, singular focus, ideally on something visual. Number 16, use speed mode to build faster subconscious skill. You want to get faster at anything. Set it up. Learn what it feels like to do it faster, quicker, sooner. And during this process, the quantity of repetition is more important than the perfection of the repetition. That doesn't mean you can do 1,000 random reps and have it work. What it means is if I do 1,000 acceptable reps of something, that is way better than 10 perfect reps of something. 10 perfect reps of something is not going to go to subconscious. But 1,000 acceptable reps will 100% go to subconscious. That's where you want it. And speed mode simply means the timer's more important than the target for some period of time. If I'm working on getting faster, but I'm letting the target dictate success, I'm not going to get faster. It's not going to happen. And the negative imprints to self-image will be very hard to counteract. But if you let the timer be more important than the target, for some period of time, man, you can get fast. But using speed mode does require a rock-solid match mode. Don't take speed mode to the match. It won't work. Number 17, dry fire at the range. Since I've started dry firing at the range, my practice has gotten so much better. Because primarily what I'm working on is speed. I don't have an accuracy problem of any kind. I can hit anything I need to hit, but I want to get faster. I used to want to get faster so I could make impressive Facebook videos. Now I've got to get faster to make impressive Instagram videos until I get access to my Facebook accounts. I suppose that shows my age that I'm far more worried about Facebook than Instagram. Jay Beal saying, leave Facebook behind, come to the gram. I don't understand the gram. Is it real? It's a post? I don't even know. But what I do know is that dry firing at the range is a great way to figure out what it feels like to do something at a desired speed. It's build subconscious skill And it helps protect the self-image because while you're dry firing, you don't have to go look at mics and deltas. Right? Those mics and deltas during live fire, those can be negative imprints if we process them that way. They don't have to be, but they can be. If we dry fire at the range in between live fire reps, you're learning what it looks like and feels like to do the thing at a faster speed, and you're not risking any damage to the self-image. And you're also saving ammunition. That's another great reason to do it. So yeah, dry fire at the range. Number 18, use goal-based practice. What I mean by that is shoot something for score. And by the way, I love to use classifiers and goal-based practice. Oh, you're telling me to practice shooting class? I'm telling you that classifiers are great for goal-based practice, especially ones that have movement. Shoot it for score, identify a goal, dry fire 20 to 25% below the goal. That means if you're at 5 seconds, you want to do it. Let's say you did something in 6 seconds, you want to do it in 5 seconds. That means you need to be dry firing it in 4 seconds. You need to dry fire 20 to 25% below the live fire goal most of the time. We'll talk about that more here in a minute. And then after you can do it every single time, 20 to 25% faster than you need to on a live fire, start working live fire back into it. Don't worry about the hits in the beginning. What does it feel like to operate this thing, to do this thing at this new speed? And then at a certain point, you'll shoot for score again. And how long this takes is up to you and your goal. But we use this method in private training all the time with fantastic results. It saves ammo, and we always achieve a reasonable goal for the day. Probably not going to go from C class to GM in one day, but you can almost always, and I would go so far as to say we do it right, you can always achieve one classification up using this method. And then take the win. Once you do it, move on to something else for that day. Because if you achieve your goal, and then you go, if I can't do it again, I can't do it. Okay, well, if you can't do it again for some reason, that means the final imprint, the one that's factual for a short period of time, will be, I can't do this. But if you achieve it and then you move on, the factual short-term imprint is, I can do this. That way, if you see something similar in competition, the last imprint is, I can do this. Not, I didn't, or I wasn't able to, or when it counts, I couldn't. The short-term factual imprint is, I did it. I can do this. That's so powerful. Number 19, understand that splits are the only difference between dry fire and live fire. Splits, time between shots on a target, is the only thing that you don't get to keep between dry fire and live fire. So when you're evaluating dry fire versus live fire, consider the distance to the target. On a classifier like Can You Count, it's going to be very similar. In that environment, you probably will get to keep the splits. If you're at 25 yards and you've got 15 splits for some reason in dry fire, you're probably not going to get to keep your 15 splits at 25 yards. Splits is the only difference. It's the only thing you don't get to keep. The good news is draws, transitions, reloads, you do get to keep for the most part. Reloads at 25 yards isn't quite the same as reloads at 3 yards because you do have to refine that sight picture again. But the mechanics of the reload, you get to keep. The only thing you don't get to keep is the splits. So keep that in mind when you're evaluating dry fire versus live fire. The distance to the target will separate those two by a wider margin. Number 20, become a great one-handed shooter. Big matches are kind of a crapshoot regarding how much one-handed shooting. I remember Nationals one year had 3 or 4 one-handed stages. This last year, they only had 1. But it is easier to be the best one-handed shooter in your division class zip code than the best shooter. And it will for sure make higher classifications easier. I know for a fact that my skill at one-handed shooting is one of the reasons I was able to make Grandmaster so quickly. Once I figured out that the vast majority of shooters don't practice this and can't do it very well, I realized a couple of things. Number 1, it's an easy stage for me to win. Number 2, because nobody practices it, The classification percentages are usually easier to achieve on the one-handed shooting because the vast majority doesn't practice it. Remember, it is a handgun, not a hands gun. So become a great one-handed shooter. An easy thing to do there is whatever drill you're doing, before you get done for the day, shoot one mag at it, one-handed, strong hand, one hand, weak hand. It's an easy way to do that every single time. Look forward to the one-handed shooting in training and in competition. Related to that is number 21. Turn your weaknesses into strengths, but attack them from competence as opposed to incompetence. So a lot of times people think that mental management encourages them to ignore their weaknesses. It doesn't do anything of the sort. What we want you to do is look at your weaknesses from a position of competence as opposed to incompetence. If you're an A-class shooter, you don't suck at anything. But you might need to improve movement. You might need to improve one-handed shooting. So you start with, I am here, I'm an A-class shooter. When I improve my one-handed shooting or my movement or whatever it is, I'm going to be even better. And take anything you're afraid of and practice it and actively acknowledge improvement. Hey, I'm getting better at this. That way, when you see that challenge at a match, the last imprint will be factual. I'm getting better at this. So turn your weaknesses into strengths. Just take a second and imagine. What's the scariest stage you can think of? Set that sucker up. 37-yard mini poppers? We didn't think that was a thing until Handgun Nationals. Of course, we didn't think Handgun Nationals was a thing until Handgun Nationals. Most people hadn't practiced at 37-yard mini poppers. Well, that's something we need to be able to do, particularly at Cardinal. Okay? So, take anything you're afraid of, make it a strength. Number 22, use local matches as practice competing, not shooting. Every time I hear somebody tell me they use local matches for practice shooting, I cringe. Because you don't do anything enough at a local match for it to count as practice shooting. But you are competing all day. So use your local match for practice competing, not practice shooting. Learn to be a better competitor. Control your thoughts before, during, and after. If you've done mental management, get on that flow chart. Get in your journal. What percentage of time did you execute your mental game correctly? That ought to be easy to get to 100, particularly at a local match. So use those local matches as practice competing, not shooting. The best competitor is going to win. Number 23, get a free class. Sorry, I had to use the last two for advertising. Sorry. So, hack number 23, if you want a class in your area, all you have to do is send me an email, steve@andersonshooting.com. Do not send me a Facebook message right now because I will not get it. I can give you the email address of the guy that'll get it because I saw what he changed it to. He'll get it, but I won't. So send me an email, steve@andersonshooting.com. Tell me you want to get a free class. We'll get that sucker worked out. Number 24, invest in mental management. Most people will tell you that the percentage of shooting that is mental is equal to their classification. A class, 75%. B class, 65%. M class, 85%. G class, 95% mental. But you're not investing anywhere near that percentage of your time on the mental game. You're just not. So invest in mental management to become the best competitor on the range while you are becoming the best shooter. I can help you do it. There's nobody better than me to help you do this in the world of shooting. I can help you do it. So let me know when you're ready, and we will make you the best competitor on the range. All right, folks, once again, please bear with us on the Facebook front. We did get hacked yesterday. Go to andersonshooting.com, upcoming classes to get signed up for mental management that we have running right now. I'm sure we'll have another one scheduled soon. And if you want a free class in your area, you just let me know. And insiders will have today's podcast outline available to them later today. All right, till we meet again, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, get to work.